Somewhere above the stadiums of North America, fighter jets are carving invisible lines through the sky, while inside the arenas, grown men leap over barricades just to touch a soccer field for 3 seconds of fame. Welcome to day 21 of the 2026 World Cup, a tournament that has become as much a story about politics, security, and power as it is about goals and glory. Today we are covering 3 rounds of 32 matches. England against the Democratic Republic of Congo, Belgium against Senegal, and the United States against Bosnia and Herzegovina. But before we dive into the football, we need to rewind to the previous night, because what happened off the pitch turned out to be just as dramatic as anything that happened on it. On match day 20, Mexico did something it had not managed in 4 decades, winning a knockout game at a World Cup. The Aztecs beat Ecuador by a comfortable 2-0 and punched their ticket into the round of 16. Normally, that would be pure celebration. Instead, the streets of Mexico City turned tragic. The party spilled out of control, and by the time the sun rose, 3 people had lost their lives amid the chaos of the celebrations. It is a grim reminder that for host nations, a World Cup win carries weight far beyond 90 minutes on a field. At the moment those celebrations turned deadly, Mexican fans did not even know who their next opponent would be. That answer was still being written out on a different field entirely in the match between England and the Democratic Republic of Congo. England walked into that game as clear favorites. They had topped their group with 7 points, cruising through the early rounds with the kind of composure expected from a nation with World Cup ambitions. Congo, on the other hand, arrived as first-time visitors to this stage of a World Cup, having finished third in their group with just 4 points before sneaking through as one of the best third-place teams. Nobody expected fireworks from the underdogs, and yet, in front of a stunned crowd, the debutantes nearly pulled off one of the great World Cup shocks of the decade. It took less than 90 seconds for Congo to make a statement. A cross swung into the box, sailed past its intended target, and dropped to an unmarked Brian Kapenge, who buried it into the corner with no hesitation. England's goalkeeper had no chance. Congo led 1-0, and suddenly the pressure shifted entirely onto the shoulders of their own goalkeeper, Lionel Ampasi, tasked with holding that lead against one of the tournament's heavyweights. If he could keep a clean sheet, Congo would sensationally advance, but there was still an enormous amount of football left to be played. England responded quickly, pushing numbers forward, though their first real opportunity did not arrive until the 29th minute, when a header from Jude Bellingham forced a smart save. 6 minutes later, the ball fell to an unmarked attacker inside the box, only for a Congolese defender to clear it off the line with his knees at the last possible moment. Congo nearly punished that missed chance almost immediately, breaking forward and forcing a shot that clipped the post and rolled agonizingly wide. Had that gone in, a 2-0 scoreline would have brought this shock even closer to becoming reality. England's captain, Harry Kane, had 2 half chances before the break, including a shout for a penalty that the referee waved away despite what looked like clear contact inside the box. The first half ended with the underdogs still ahead, 1-0, and the tension inside the stadium was thick enough to cut with a knife. The second half started slowly for England, missing several more chances before manager Thomas Tuchel finally lost his patience and turned to his bench. The substitution that changed everything was Anthony Gordon, who ended up directly involved in both of England's goals. In the 75th minute, Gordon delicately chipped a ball toward the back post, where Kane rose to head it home, leveling the score at 1 goal apiece. Just over 10 minutes later, after a save from Congo's keeper, Gordon collected the loose ball, danced past a couple of defenders, and slid a pass to Kane, who finished coolly into the near corner. 2-1, England in front for the first time in the entire match. It was Kane's 5th goal of the tournament, pulling him level with Erling Haaland in the race for the Golden Boot, with only Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi still ahead of him on the leaderboard. In the dying seconds, Congo nearly forced extra time with a long-range free kick that sailed just over the crossbar. England survived, winning 2-1 and setting up a mouth-watering round of 16 date with Mexico, the same team whose fans were still mourning their own night of tragedy. Elsewhere in that side of the bracket, Brazil will face Norway, meaning a Dream Brazil versus England quarterfinal is theoretically on the table. Though, as always in knockout football, nothing is guaranteed on paper. From there, attention shifted to Belgium against Senegal, a fixture that turned into one of the most chaotic and historic matches of the entire tournament. Stewards struggled to contain a handful of spectators who decided the pitch looked more inviting than their seats. But even without that interruption, this match would have gone down as unforgettable. Both nations had won only a single group stage game apiece, and both victories came in their final group matches. Belgium finished top of their group, while Senegal scraped through in third place. Remarkably, the two countries had never played each other before, not even in a friendly, giving this round of 32 clash a genuine sense of history before a ball was even kicked. Senegal came flying out of the gates. In the 13th minute, Belgian goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois came for a cross he could not claim, and Ismaila Sarr's resulting effort cannonballed off the post. 10 minutes later, almost the exact same sequence repeated itself. Another cross from the left, another headed effort from Sarr. Another shot off the woodwork. This time, though, Habib Diarra pounced on the rebound to give Senegal the lead. Belgium struggled to find any rhythm in the first half, managing only a single shot that Senegal's goalkeeper comfortably handled. At the break, it was Senegal 1, Belgium 0. Sitting on Belgium's bench that entire time was Romelu Lukaku, the super substitute who had scored as a second-half replacement multiple times during the group stage. His manager sent him on at halftime, and almost immediately, disaster struck the other way. Just 6 minutes into the second half, Sarr received a long pass from deep in his own half, shrugged off two defenders using pure physical strength, and smashed a shot into the net so hard it nearly tore through the netting. Senegal now led 2-0, and Belgium's World Cup hopes looked to be hanging by a thread. In response, head coach Rudi Garcia made two enormously risky substitutions, pulling off both Jeremy Doku and Kevin De Bruyne. Had it backfired, critics would have torn the decision apart, and Garcia's job might have been on the line. Instead, the gamble worked, though Belgium had to wait until the 86th minute for their reward, when Lukaku finished a low cross first time to make it 2-1. Then, in the final minute of regulation time, a header from captain Yuri Tielemans off a deflected cross leveled the score at 2 apiece, sending the match into extra time with Belgium suddenly looking like the stronger side heading into the additional 30 minutes. Neither team could find a breakthrough as the clock wound down, and the match appeared destined for penalties, a scenario that had already burned 2 European heavyweights earlier in this tournament, with both Germany and the Netherlands losing shootouts in previous rounds. But Belgium avoided that fate in the most dramatic way imaginable. In the 116th minute, a cross into the box led to a collision, and although the ball continued its path to a Belgian attacker whose shot cannoned off the crossbar, replays showed Tielemans had been fouled in the buildup. The referee from Honduras reviewed the footage and made the bold call to award a penalty in the closing seconds of extra time. The clock read 124 minutes and 43 seconds when Tielemans stepped up, sent the goalkeeper the wrong way, and buried the ball into the top corner. 3-2, Belgium through to the round of 16, and Tielemans' spot kick instantly became the latest goal ever scored in World Cup history. It was, without exaggeration, a heart-stopping finish to a genuinely historic contest. That same day, a security detail of enormous scale hovered quietly in the background of every match, a detail that says a great deal about the political climate surrounding this tournament. More than 400 law enforcement agencies are working alongside federal authorities and private security contractors to protect stadiums, fan zones, and team hotels across the 11 United States host cities, making this one of the largest security operations ever assembled for a global sporting event. Above the stadiums themselves, fighter jets have been patrolling the skies as part of a joint air defense operation, ready to intercept any aircraft that strays into restricted airspace during matches. It is a striking image, cutting-edge stealth technology and armed patrol jets flying overhead while down on the field, security guards chase after fans who have leapt a barrier for a few seconds of viral fame. Several pitch invasions have already made headlines this tournament, from a failed attempt during the United States' opening win over Paraguay to 3 intruders halting play during the Belgium-Senegal thriller. One unconfirmed report circulating online suggested that one of the individuals involved in a pitch invasion may have been a social media personality who allegedly teased his ticket on Instagram hours before the match, though this claim remains unverified speculation rather than confirmed fact. The political undertones of this World Cup extend well beyond stadium security. Financial disclosure filings released this week revealed that FIFA President Gianni Infantino gave President Trump 10 tickets to last year's Club World Cup final, valued at around $15,000, adding to a growing list of gifts documented in the president's annual disclosure. That relationship has drawn fresh scrutiny from European lawmakers, some of whom have raised formal complaints questioning the closeness between FIFA's leadership and the current administration, a storyline that has increasingly shadowed the tournament even as it captivates hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide. Whether or not that controversy affects the remainder of the tournament's organization remains to be seen, but it underscores how deeply intertwined modern World Cups have become with global politics, sponsorship money, and diplomatic optics. Turning back to the pitch, the day's final match saw the United States take on Bosnia and Herzegovina with plenty riding on the outcome. The other 2 co-host nations, Canada and Mexico, had already secured their places in the round of 16, meaning the pressure was squarely on the Americans to keep pace. The United States had won their group, finishing ahead of the pack, while Bosnia scraped through as one of the better third-placed teams. Notably, both of the United States' wins this tournament followed a similar script, a strong, controlling first half, followed by a more cautious, defensive second half. This match against Bosnia followed the exact same pattern. Forward Folarin Balogun was the standout attacking threat in the opening period. In the 15th minute, he narrowly failed to connect with a low cross across the box. 3 minutes later, he went down inside the penalty area following contact with a defender, but the referee waved away appeals for a penalty, ruling the contact insufficient. Balogun did find the net in the 30th minute, though the goal was ruled out for offside. He was not offside 15 minutes later, though, when a defense-splitting pass found him after a couple of fortunate deflections, and he drilled a left-footed finish into the net to give the United States a 1-0 lead at halftime. It was not a commanding advantage, but it was enough to work with. The match took a dramatic turn in the 64th minute, when Balogun became the first player in 5 World Cups to score a goal and receive a red card in the same knockout match. Contesting a midfield battle, he stamped down on an opponent's foot from behind, and after a video review, the referee showed him a straight red card. Interestingly, a nearly identical incident involving Lionel Messi earlier in the tournament resulted in no card at all, a discrepancy that fueled plenty of debate among fans and pundits about consistency in officiating. The last player before Balogun to score and get sent off in the same World Cup knockout match was Zinedine Zidane in the 2006 final against Italy, placing Balogun's name alongside one of football's most iconic, if infamous, moments. Bosnia enjoyed more than half an hour with a numerical advantage, but could not find a way through the United States' defense. Instead, it was the Americans who struck again in the 82nd minute, when Malik Tillman curled a free kick into the top corner, the goalkeeper getting a slight touch, but unable to keep it out. The match finished 2-0 in favor of the United States, sending all 3 World Cup co-hosts through to the round of 16 and setting up a clash between the Americans and Belgium in the next round, one that Balogun will now miss due to suspension. Since that match, the tournament has moved quickly through its remaining round of 32 fixtures, and the results have reshaped the entire bracket heading into the knockout stage's next phase. Spain dismantled Austria by a scoreline of 3-0, cruising into the round of 16 without much resistance. Portugal survived a tense battle with Croatia, eventually winning 2-1 in a match that stayed level for long stretches before Portugal's quality shone through late on. Switzerland also advanced comfortably, defeating Algeria 2-0 to complete a mostly straightforward day for the European contingent. In stark contrast to the chaos of the Belgium-Senegal Classic just 2 days earlier. With those results locked in, the round of 16 draw is now fully set. Co-host Canada will face Morocco, who survived a dramatic penalty shootout against the Netherlands after finishing level at 1 apiece. Paraguay, fresh off knocking out Germany on penalties in one of the tournament's biggest upsets so far, will meet France, who cruised past Sweden by 3-0 without much difficulty. Brazil, who edged past Japan thanks to a late winner, will take on Norway, who eliminated Ivory Coast. Mexico will renew their newly created rivalry with England in what promises to be an emotionally charged encounter given the tragic circumstances surrounding Mexico's advancement. Spain and Portugal, two of the tournament's most in-form sides, will meet in a heavyweight all-Iberian showdown. And the United States will face Belgium in a rematch of styles, pitting the host nation's counterattacking approach against Belgium's newfound resilience under pressure. Still to be completed on this same match day are a handful of remaining fixtures, rounding out the final round of 32 spots. Australia takes on Egypt, while Argentina, the defending champions, face Cape Verde in what should be a routine formality for Lionel Messi's side, barring any surprises of the kind we have already seen from Congo and Paraguay this tournament. Early the following morning, Colombia will meet Ghana to determine the final team advancing into the knockout bracket. Given how this tournament has already produced record-late winning goals, unlikely upsets, and controversial red cards, nobody watching should assume anything is settled until the final whistle blows. Beyond the results themselves, this World Cup continues to sit at an unusual crossroads between sport and politics. Analysts covering the tournament have noted that the scale of security, from fighter jet patrols to the deployment of hundreds of law enforcement agencies, reflects heightened anxieties in a geopolitical climate where major international gatherings have increasingly become targets for scrutiny and, in some cases, genuine security concerns. At the same time, questions about FIFA's relationship with the White House, fueled by disclosed gifts and hospitality, have added a layer of political intrigue that rarely accompanies a soccer tournament of this magnitude. Some commentators speculate, though this remains firmly in the realm of speculation rather than confirmed reporting, that the ongoing scrutiny could influence how FIFA handles future hosting decisions or sponsorship arrangements, particularly as pressure builds from lawmakers overseas. None of this has slowed the tournament down on the field, where drama, heartbreak, and history continue to unfold match after match. There is also a broader financial and political backdrop worth understanding, because the 2026 World Cup has become something of a lightning rod for debate over money, influence, and access at the highest levels of government. The disclosure that surfaced this week is not the first time Infantino's relationship with the sitting president has drawn attention. Reporters have pointed out that Infantino attended a number of high-profile events at the White House during the build-up to the tournament, feeding a narrative that FIFA leadership has actively courted favor with the current administration ahead of what is, by many measures, the most commercially significant World Cup in the tournament's history, given that it spans 3 countries and includes an expanded 48-team format for the very first time. Critics in the European Parliament have reportedly raised questions about whether that closeness crosses any ethical lines, though FIFA has publicly maintained that all interactions comply with its own governance standards. It is worth stressing that much of this remains contested territory, with FIFA disputing characterizations of undue influence, so viewers should treat the political dimension as an evolving story rather than a settled scandal. On the football side, the expanded format itself has already reshaped how this tournament plays out compared to previous editions. With 48 teams instead of 32, the group stage produced more third-place qualifiers advancing to the knockout rounds than any previous World Cup, which explains how a team like Congo, finishing third in their group, still found themselves in a legitimate shot at reaching the round of 16. That structural change has also meant more matches overall, more revenue for FIFA, and according to some pundits, a slightly diluted group stage in exchange for a knockout bracket that has so far delivered an unusually high number of dramatic finishes, penalty shootouts, and late goals. Whether that trade-off proves worth it in the eyes of longtime fans is likely to be debated long after this tournament ends, but from a pure entertainment standpoint, the round of 32 alone has already produced 2 of the latest goals in World Cup history and multiple shootout eliminations for traditional powerhouses.